Hi, I'm Nyree. I've got 2 adopted sons and I've been an ex-foster carer as well. And today I'm just going to say, have you got a situation where the child or children that you have taken on board are very lacking in empathy? So they're lacking empathy for you as adults and with other children, and you notice this and you don't really understand it, you don't know why it's happening, and you find that you're trying to parent to get them to understand that you don't do this to the dog, you don't do this to your friend, and you don't speak to us like this, and it's just falling on deaf ears and you're not sure why. So when children are developing when they're younger, at a certain age they normally develop some sort of empathy, and this normally starts around about 4 years of age and then carries on developing. And when I was working in daycare, so with very young children, I would often have to train the staff to understand that at 2 you can get them to say sorry if you like, but they don't really understand what they're saying sorry for. So it's just going to be a word. There'll be nothing behind it. They won't understand. And a lot of the staff really struggled with that, but it's true. Empathy does not begin at the age of 2. So the reason why adopted or foster children may be late in developing empathy is very much around the trauma aspect, which I've explained in another video, as they can't, if they're going through trauma and they're developing slower, then they may well develop empathy slowly as well. So empathy is an emotion, as I'm sure you understand. You have to feel it, and so emotions are something that do develop throughout childhood. The way that it might play itself out to you, and maybe you can then take a step back and think, okay, I need to not worry about this anymore, is you might find that your child hurts an animal or another child, and then that animal or child shows distress, and you might see that your child steps back and looks a little bit surprised at that, or has that kind of emotional blankness which you're not expecting to happen. And as parents, we can be very frustrated and hurt over that, because we are feeling it for that animal or for that child, and we're wondering why our children are not feeling it. But you can see on their faces that they're not feeling it, and it's theory of mind. Like they can't put themselves into somebody else's shoes. They can't identify with what somebody else is feeling. Unfortunately, for children that have been very traumatized, they may be very, very late developing empathy. They may even not develop it until they're into their adulthood. And for autistic children or children with some childhood conditions, they may develop it very late or may not develop it at all. That's a problem that you're dealing with. You can't really expect to train someone to understand empathy. It's not something that you can really change. You can try to label emotions for them and start off with a very basic emotion such as happy and sad, and use visual pictures and visual clues so that children get the idea that when somebody looks upset, they are upset. That's a way that you can maybe start training them to understand. Really, for some children, there's not a lot you can do about it, and so sometimes there's not even any point in trying to explain, because they're still not going to get it. Really, you just have to preempt situations where you think it's going to happen, and not put your child into a situation which is going to cause issues with other children, animals, and get you upset. Accept that this is a problem for them, accept that this is where they're at, and you're not going to be able to change it. I do really notice this actually in both of my sons. You have to explain to them why somebody wouldn't like something, and sometimes you still can't really get through. You can't really make yourself understood as to why they need to put themselves into somebody else's shoes. Empathy is one of those things as well which will connect to other things. You've got a child who likes to have control, to manipulate, likes to lie, possibly steal, and cause issues and problems. within their friendship groups. This will all be down to the fact that they haven't developed empathy yet, and they can't work out how it is they need to behave, how it is they need to be in a social situation, because that root of empathy is not there. So there is no easy answer to that apart from visualization and trying to label things as they happen. So as soon as somebody is sad, you label somebody's sad, somebody's upset. If you've got a picture of that you can use alongside, if you're talking to a younger child, then definitely I would use visualization for them to kind of see what you're talking about. If you're reading a story, you'll find that children that have no empathy will be able to read the story with you, but they won't get the emotional impact of the story. So they'll be able to tell you the sequence and the narrative of the story, which makes it look like they've understood. But if you were to ask them the moral behind the story, or how somebody's feeling at any given time, if there isn't a picture of that in the book to show that emotion, they probably won't pick that up. And that's how you can know your child hasn't yet developed empathy. It is what it is, and hopefully you've understood it a little bit more now, and that will help you along the way.